Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foiled Fox. Thanks so much for joining me today. You know the old saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade? Well, in this case, when life gives you lemons, we're going to make a card. And I think it's a very cheery card, and I think that all of us could use that right now, because since a lot of us are sheltering in place. And it starts out with the ink to paper lemon stamp and die set. And then I'm also using the blossoming branch, the big branch in this set, and then the big branch die also in this set. It, it cuts and stamps a very nice lifelike branch that I think will go nicely with the lemon. And then I'm going to use the rustic brick background. It is a two-piece stamp set that gives a lot of dimension to the background. And then finally, I'm using the My Favorite Things rectangle frames. So let's get started. I have in my stamping platform, I've put in a piece of Nina white cardstock, and I also have the lemon stamps and the leaf stamps. And I'm taking Lemon Tart. These are all Papertrey inks. And I am stamping that with the lemon tart, and I'm going to do that a couple of times just so I get the color that I'd like to have. Now I also am going to be using a few other colors to get that shading. See right there on those edges, I'm going to be putting the bright buttercup just right on those edges there. And I'm going to smooth it out with my finger. It's very important to do this so you don't get a hard edge. And if you want to see more of this kind of ink blending I do, then go to my video that I did just recently, and I will link to that in the description below. But I'm also using Summer Sunrise that gives a little orangey look to it, just to give it more depth. See how it doesn't color all of the lemon to the dark color? You have a little bit of light areas and you have some dark areas. You just go back and forth and getting until you get the color that you like. And then with that done, we wipe off all of the yellow, and I'm going to go on to the leaves. So I'm going to start out with green parakeet. And you don't have to worry about all the colors that I'm using. You don't have to rush to write them down. There is a complete supply list on our blog. There will be a link in the description down below, so you can just pop over there and get all of the supplies used. And so I stamped it with the green parakeet. Now I'm going to stamp it with the new leaf. And this is the shading areas just on the edges, just on the one side, just to create a little bit more dimension to the leaf so it's not so monotone. I'm going to wipe off the lemon, making sure I didn't get any green on there because I don't want it to mess up the lemon. I do like to have several stamps mounted on the stamping platform because that way it's really expedient. You can stamp and then die cut very quickly. And you can see I didn't like the small lemon. So I'm going to do one more because I want to have a little bit more contrast, a little bit more highlight, I should say, where I want some lighter areas and then the darker areas just on the edges. So the body of it, again, to review, is lemon tart, and then I use a little bit of bright buttercup and some summer sunrise on the edges. And now that that's done, I'm going to take there's a leaf stamp, veining, actually, I should say, a leaf vein stamp for each of these leaves. So I'm stamping that with pine feather. With that done, I'm going to, so you can see those are all done. I'm going to mount in that large branch, and I'm going to stamp it with a fine linen. And I'm going to make sure I get a good impression on that. Now, I was going to use the dark chocolate, but I decided against that. I was going to do that for the shading, and I decided that I wasn't going to have enough control. So I took a distress marker. I think this is Gathered Twigs. And I'm just in the crevices, where the joints of the branches are, and just on the underside of the branch, so to speak, just areas where you would expect to have a shadow. I'm making it a little bit darker there. And you can see when you use a marker like this, you have a lot of control exactly where that ink goes. Now with that done, I'm going to cut that out using the die that you see there, and then I'm also going to be using the die here for the lemons and the leaf. I'm also going to cut that flower. There's two sizes of flowers. I'm just going to cut them out of white Nina cardstock. I'm not going to have any color on them except for they have a little center, and I'm taking Lovely Lady, which is a pink, and then a little bit of Bright Buttercup, and I'm just stamping very lightly just the centers of these because they're quite a soft center to them. And with those done, you can see, and everything cut everything out using the matching dies there. I'm just kind of getting an idea how I want that to look. Now I'm going to, with that done, I'm going to work on the background. So I'm going to use a piece of black licorice cardstock. And I mentioned that this is a two-piece die. And I would caution you to make sure that you take note what's at the top. Like I use where the fold is. And I make of the one stamp that I make sure that the other one that when I use the other one, that I have that one on the top too. So I designate where there's the fold on the acetate that the stamps is mounted on, and then I make sure where the fold is on the other one, and I deem those the top. And so I just put one of them in. It doesn't matter which one, really. You can kind of look at it and decide which one you think it should. And then I position it so that it will stamp properly on this piece of black cardstock. And I'm using a white ink. I'm using Yeti here from Lawn Fawn. I like this white ink, but also another white ink I do like a whole lot is Papertrey's Fresh Snow. So you can stamp this. I stamped this several times because I want to get a really nice impression. Sometimes it's hard when you're using black paper and then using a light ink. So here you can see I'm just kind of positioning where does that go, and I'm making sure that it fits on there properly, and then I'm mounting that on. I've mounted that on and then stamping it. So you can see this one adds a lot more detail to the brick, makes it more authentic. With that done, I took that out, and I'm going to extend these. I want to use this whole piece of black cardstock. I want it to go all the way to the edges. So I stamped that Yeti ink onto my glass mat, and I'm just taking a tiny brush and I'm just extending those lines. Fortunately, you don't have to be very accurate with this because, you know, the brick is rather a rough kind of brick background, and so you don't have to be real exacting. And anyway, no one's going to be really staring at that, especially once it blends in like this. You're not even going to know. So don't panic about it. Just kind of extend those lines and add little dots of color here and there. With that done, I'm making sure that I have a white card base that's a little bit bigger than the black background that we just made. And then I have a piece of heavy vellum. I think this is 48 pound. And I'm going to tape on the black background. And you can see I use a tape gun because I want to have tape, a ton of tape all the time. So I'm just that applies the double stick tape. And then with this vellum and that frame from My Favorite Things, I cut one of those out of the vellum. And because I don't want to show, if you glue down vellum, it'll show a mark wherever you put the glue, and I didn't want any mark. And since things are going to be going on top of this, I'm just going to put it right in position, and then I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back side of the branch, and I'm going to let the branch hold it down. So now I don't even have to worry. It doesn't flop because it's a stiff vellum. It stays right in place. and I don't have to do anything at all. So I thought that worked out swimmingly. And with all of these pieces that we cut out, I put foam tape on the back side, and I'm just kind of lightly setting them there. I'm not pressing them down at all because I'm just kind of getting an idea so that I can easily move them around if I need to. So that I'm just kind of getting an idea how that fits, but I need to have a sentiment. So I took a little rectangle of Nina white cardstock and I stamped on the Just For You sentiment. I love this script. It's a great script, and I used the True Black. And then with a pen, I think this is a number 1. It's a Zig pen. I am just marking a line, just being careful to go in from the edge just slightly, and I'm not using a ruler or anything. I like it that it's not absolutely perfect, and it seems to turn out better when I do that, and they're just short lines, so it's easy. You don't have to go a long distance. So I put some foam tape on the back of that, put that in position, and now I'm just going to arrange these leaves and the blossoms along with the lemons and put them all in place. I think that is just so cheery. I really like the look of it. And then with, I didn't put a little bit of foam tape on there, so I'm just sticking that on there. And there you have it, this beautiful card. And it's so fun. You can change the sentiment to whatever you like. I just love these lemons though. They just really cheer me up, and I hope that they do that for you too. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. If you liked the video, please consider giving us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We would love that. And then if you do subscribe, be sure to click the bell so that you're notified the next time we post a video. Again, I want to thank so much for you joining me. The complete supply list, some close-ups, all sorts of other goodies are on our blog, and you can just click the link in the description down below and go right there. Thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.